Within the last 24 hours, the militants have taken control of 3 provincial capitals. That means the militants there control about 2/3 of the country. Well, let's discuss this with our Chief Foreign Affairs Editor, Rob Parsons, who's with me on set. Rob, clearly very concerning news coming out of Afghanistan at the moment. In your view, is it a matter of time until the capital, Kabul, falls as well?
Well, it's beginning to look really bad for the Afghan government. There's no question about that. The provincial cities it's losing are all over the country, but at the moment primarily concentrated in the north. And therein lies the biggest threat. They've just lost control of Faizabad, which is the capital of Badakhshan province, on the border with Tajikistan, with China and with Pakistan. So the government is losing control over the trade with those countries. The key city in the north is Sharif. If it loses control of Mazar, that's a massive blow for the government. And today, President Ashraf Ghani has flown to Mazar-e-Sharif to talk to some of the warlords there, like General Dostum, with a very unsavory human rights record, it has to be said. But that's how desperate the government is at the moment. It needs the support of people like that if it is to cling on. The bigger question, though, is if it loses complete control of the north and these provincial capitals, is that the end? Perhaps not, I think, is the simple answer to that, because at the moment, the Afghan government is strung out right across the country, spread out very thinly. The more it falls back on Kabul, the easier it becomes for it to concentrate its forces and the tougher it becomes for the Taliban to advance.
All right, Joe Biden has been speaking about this issue recently. Of course, we remember that American forces have only recently pulled out effectively all of their troops. Let's have a listen to what Biden's had to say on this issue.
No. Look, we spent over $1 trillion over 20 years. We trained and equipped with modern equipment over 300,000 Afghan forces. And Afghan leaders have to come together. We lost death and injury, thousands of American personnel. They've got to fight for themselves, fight for their nation.
All right, Rob Parsons is still with me. And Rob, what do you make then of what Biden had to say on that issue?
Well, if you're an Afghan, it's a pretty tough message, isn't it? You know, there's no going back on that decision to pull the troops out by the 11th of September. As he said, you know, if the United States has been there for 20 years, it can't stay there forever. It's spent over $1 trillion and lost thousands of lives in the war in Afghanistan. And as far as the US government is now concerned, there is no point in staying on. It cannot stay on indefinitely. It is up to the Afghans to defend their own country. In the meantime, the US does continue to provide weapons, ammunition, equipment, medicines. It pays the salaries of the army. Its air force still provides a certain amount of air cover, not the amount it provided when the US troops are there on the ground, but it's certainly there and gives them a significant advantage over the Taliban. But you know, the US aren't going to come back. You know, it's the Afghans on their own now. That is the very clear message that Joe Biden is presenting. They're getting diplomatic support, but that's really not going to make a great deal of difference on the ground. It's whether the Afghan government, the Afghan armed forces, can summon the determination and the organization and professionalism to fight off the Taliban.